Welcome back, you lovely babes. We love you, we see you. And babes, we are so glad to have you. And babes to everyone celebrating Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. We are raising a very full glass of Pinot Noir to you, right? Like wherever you are.
We absolutely are.
Yeah.
Because babes, watching people fall in love through walls internationally somehow feels even more chaotic.
It is a totally different breed of unhinged. Truly. Like we thought we understood the psychology of these isolation pods.
Right.
But putting them in a completely different country just it shifts the entire tectonic plates of the drama.
It changes everything. And we know you are right there on the couch with us right now. Because let's just set the scene for you for a second.
Well, here we go.
It is Saturday night for us as we are recording this. The wine is literally poured. We are in our absolute coziest clothes.
Sweatpants only.
Exactly. But I'm already hyperventilating. Because by the time you actually hear this chat, the weekend will basically be over.
It's true. Sunday is coming.
And I am already emotionally panicking about the horror of Sundays. Like, the Sunday scaries are destroying me right now.
The Sunday scaries are a legitimate psychological phenomenon. I am fully convinced of it. It's an actual literal stress response in the body.
It's that horrible creeping dread. You know what I mean? It sets in at exactly like 4 p.m. on Sunday.
The 4 p.m. shadow, it's real.
The sun starts shifting. The shadows get a little too long in your living room, and suddenly you are just painfully aware that work is only hours away.
And you haven't done laundry.
Exactly. The Sunday night anxiety is just paralyzing.
Yeah.
You try to watch a movie, you try to, do a face mask, but the whole time your brain is just a ticking countdown clock.
It's just anticipating the emotional damage of hearing your alarm go off on Monday morning.
Yes. I romanticize the weekend so much, I build it up in my head, and then it just abandons me. It just leaves.
It abandons you and it leaves you with responsibilities, which actually, it brings us to our most shameful confession of the week.
Oh, no. Do we have to say it?
We have to. We are both honestly embarrassed right now because we still haven't locked down our Mother's Day gifts.
I'm physically sweating just thinking about it. My heart rate literally just spiked.
Look at us. We are fully grown women. We both have doctorate degrees. We run our own dental practices.
We fix teeth for a living.
Right. And immediately after hitting stop on this recording, we are literally running to the mall in a blind panic like teenagers who forgot to do a group project.
It is the absolute struggle of being productive adults.
Yeah.
Why do we do this to ourselves? We leave everything until the exact last second.
Every single year.
I swear, after you turn 25, time somehow moves at warp speed.
Yeah.
1 minute you're ringing in the new year, and the next minute you're sprinting through a department store at 8:45 p.m. on a Saturday.
Just praying they haven't locked the doors yet.
Just hoping your mom wants, like, a slightly bruised candle or a scarf that was on a clearance rack. I am spiraling.
I'm just going to justify our procrastination right now, honestly, just purely for my own ego.
Please do. Help me feel better.
Diamonds take time to find. Okay. Even if those diamonds are currently located at a brightly lit mall kiosk right next to the Auntie Anne's pretzels.
Oh my gosh, Auntie Anne's.
You cannot rush inspiration. You have to let the perfect gift reveal itself to you under the fluorescent mall lighting.
The Auntie Anne's fumes are honestly the only thing that will give us the physical strength to survive the mall tonight.
Cinnamon sugar pretzel bites will get us through this.
But okay, let's shift the energy. Let's bring it back to the couch. Because, babes, the wine is poured. And we are seated.
Fully seated.
Because you just watched the first 5 episodes of Love is Blind Poland. And babes, you absolutely have to discuss this.
We have so much to unpack here. Because my initial impressions, I was completely shook.
Shook, like my jaw was on the floor half the time.
The pod conversations in Poland operate on a totally different frequency. There is zero small talk.
None.
They aren't asking about favorite colors or movies. They are immediately asking for, credit scores and genetic history.
It is so intense.
And the fashion is so chaotic. I saw so many aggressively matching separates and confusing turtlenecks.
But the turtlenecks, why were there so many?
I don't know. But honestly, some of these people feel absolutely terrifying right out of the gate.
Terrifying. It's actually crazy seeing this franchise expand globally. Like, we have sat here week after week, glass of wine in hand, and watched season after season of the U.S. version completely implode.
Just absolute unmitigated emotional wreckage every time.
Exactly. So seeing the formula exported to Europe is a total trip. It feels like an entirely new social experiment.
It really makes you wonder what country should get the show next. Because we've had Japan, which was, so polite and
I
measured.
love Japan. It was so soothing.
Right. And then Brazil gave us absolute telenovela, screaming in the rain
Oh
during.
my gosh, Brazil was pure chaos. I lived for it.
And Sweden was basically a psychological thriller where everyone was quietly analyzing each other over coffee. So which version do you think is the messiest so far?
Ooh, the messiest. Honestly, Sweden was so dark. It was like an A24 indie horror movie.
It really was.
But I need to know what culture would make for the ultimate unhinged season.
Yeah.
Like, give me Love is Blind Italy.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Just loud, passionate arguments, pasta literally being thrown at the velvet walls, people storming out of the pods, crying because someone put pineapple on their pizza. It would be cinema.
It would win an Emmy. You have to let us know in the comments where they need to take the pods next because I am so invested.
So invested. But wait, speaking of being invested and speaking of taking things to the next level, we have a major flex for the Snark Squad before we get into the recap.
Yes, we do. I am so excited about this.
Oh my gosh, my brain almost completely bypassed this because of the mall panic. Babes, our embroidered scrubs finally arrived.
They are here and they are glorious. For anyone new here, we are both practicing dentists at two completely different clinics.
We are.
And let me tell you, there is an absolute power trip that comes with getting the Snarkside custom embroidered onto your professional clinical dental scrubs.
It is everything. I put them on Thursday, and suddenly, going to work to look at people's bicuspids felt iconic.
Iconic.
I was romanticizing my entire 8 a.m. root canal. I felt like the main character of the dental clinic. I was holding that section too, like it was a literal microphone.
The reactions from our coworkers have absolutely been the best part of this.
What did your clinic say? I need some.
Okay, so I walked into the break room to grab my coffee, and my lead hygienist literally rolled her eyes at me.
Yeah.
Yes. And then one of the receptionists, Brenda, she squinted at my chest for a solid 10 seconds and was like, "What does that mean? Are you in a cult?"
Brenda, oh my gosh, what did you say?
I just looked at her and said, "Yes, Brenda, I am in a cult of reality TV delusion. Please respect my religious practices."
That is incredible. You are my hero.
Honestly, I want to wear these scrubs everywhere now. To the grocery store, to the mall kiosk tonight to buy my mother a last-minute gift. I want the world to know.
You would be exuding absolute authority. Like, nobody messes with a woman in custom embroidered medical scrubs.
It's true. But speaking of authority, we need to officially call this meeting to order.
Yes, we do. Grab your glasses.
Because Love is Blind Poland is serving up a massive buffet of delusion, miscommunication, and absolute emotional warfare, and I'm starving. Let's get right into the recap of episodes 1 through 5.
Let's do it. I have so many feelings.
Let's start with the dynamic that had me pausing my screen and staring into the middle distance just to process the sheer audacity. We have a full-blown love rectangle of chaos.
It is so messy. The pods gave us this wild four-way intersection.
Total traffic jam.
Right, so we have two best friends on the women's side, Julita and Daria, and then two bros on the men's side, Jacek and Philip.
And they are all crisscrossing their dating paths, swapping stories, and stepping on each other's toes.
It's a disaster. I want to start with Julita and Jacek because I was immediately so emotional over Julita.
Her backstory is incredibly heavy. It really shifts the entire tone of the show the second she reveals it.
It is an insane amount of trauma. She's 36, and she opened up in the pods that she became a mother at 19, got married at 19, and then became a widow at 19 when her husband ended his own life.
All within a 6-month window.
My heart just broke into a million pieces for her. That is a foundational, identity-altering level of grief.
Absolutely.
And raising an 18-year-old son completely by yourself after going through that, she is a total warrior. I just want to give her a hug.
She is resilient in a way most people will never have to understand, which is exactly what makes her match with Jacek so incredibly jarring.
He's so jarring. It makes no sense.
Let's clinically analyze Jacek for a second. The man is a barber who proudly refers to himself as Good Gypsy on his social media.
Already a choice.
Right. And his behavior in the pods, we literally cannot ignore the howling.
The howling. I had to mute my television. I was so embarrassed for him.
He was literally making these guttural, moaning, ah-ooh wolf noises every 2 seconds.
Like an actual wolf.
It was like he was communicating in primal grunts. He would just breathe heavily into the microphone instead of using human words.
It was giving me full-body cringes.
It's like watching a trapped feral coyote trying to communicate through a drywall. Why do men do this?
I don't know. It's terrifying.
It's this bizarre performative display of hyper-masculinity, but it really just comes off like you don't know how to articulate basic human emotion.
It was so deeply uncomfortable. And the reveal. When they finally opened those doors and saw each other,
Oh, it was bad.
Jolita did not look thrilled. The fantasy shattered instantly. She looked like she wanted to run the other way.
Oh, she had immediate buyer's remorse. You could physically see her nervous system jump into fight or flight.
You really could. And
Ugh.
Jacek made it exponentially worse.
Of course he did.
The doors open, and the first thing he does is make her spin around like a mannequin in a shop window.
Yeah, just twirl for me.
He's being so overtly sexual right out of the gate, just staring at her body, making those weird breathless sighing noises again.
And the cherry on top of this disaster, the absolute worst part, he was completely barefoot.
Barefoot. I lost my mind. I was screaming at the screen.
Who does that?
You are meeting your future wife on international television. The cameras are rolling. She is in a stunning gown, and your dogs are barking on the Netflix soundstage.
The floor is probably so dirty, too.
Put some shoes on. It is a television set, not your living room. I was genuinely spiraling.
It's a fake performance of authenticity. Like, he thinks being barefoot makes him look grounded and earthy, but it really just says, I don't respect the formality of this moment.
Exactly. It says, I am messy.
Which perfectly segues into the other half of this disastrous rectangle, Daria and Philip. Let me tell you, if Jacek is giving feral coyote, Philip is radiating pure, unfiltered man-child energy.
The highest possible level of man-child.
Yeah.
He is the king of the man-children.
Their reveal was actually painful to sit through. Philip walks out, and within 5 seconds of laying eyes on Daria, he grabs her ass.
He just physically grabs it. Who does that?
And then, instead of saying something remotely romantic, like, you look beautiful, or I'm so happy to see you.
Literally anything normal.
Right. Instead of that, he looks her up and down, tells her that her dress leaves nothing to the imagination, and explicitly calls her a fine piece of ass.
I physically recoiled into my couch cushions. I wanted to crawl out of my skin.
It was disgusting.
How is that your opening line to the woman you supposedly fell in love with blindly? It is so gross. It is so degrading. He stripped away any magic of the experiment immediately.
Completely.
And if you looked at Daria's face, you could see she was entirely unattracted to him. Her eyes were screaming for an exit strategy. She completely froze.
She was a deer in headlights, so why do they keep pretending they like each other?
I don't get it. Just leave.
Because they want the free vacation to Greece. It is the ultimate reality TV motivation. You endure the gross comments to get to the infinity pool.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Which is exactly where this whole rectangle completely implodes. Let's dissect episode 5, the Greece getaway explosion.
I am still hyperventilating over this sequence of events. Okay, so we're watching Jacek and Jolita, and suddenly the vibe shifts, and they are arguing.
Out of nowhere.
Jacek calls Jolita's face bitchy, right to her face. She gets visibly upset, which is completely valid.
Very valid.
And then the camera cuts to the next morning. Jolita is crying, she looks absolutely devastated, and she is telling Jacek that her boundaries were violated by something he said off camera.
And Netflix completely cut it out. They didn't air the audio.
I was yelling at my television. What did he say? You cannot just leave us hanging like that.
You know, I immediately went straight to the Reddit threads. The cultural investigators have been working overtime synthesizing the context clues on this one.
Bless those people. Give me the receipts. What are the theories?
We have the receipts, and the speculation is incredibly dark. Because Netflix cutting the audio entirely means it wasn't just a standard insult.
Right, they usually air the fights.
Exactly. It had to be something deeply offensive, legally risky, or intensely triggering. There are 2 main theories, and both are horrifying.
Oh, God. I'm scared.
Theory 1. Jacek, who constantly brags about having a heavy, dark sense of humor, made a wildly inappropriate joke about her late husband's suicide.
No.
Something along the lines of, like, no wonder he did it, or making light of how she lost him.
No. My stomach just completely dropped. That is vile. That is actual evil.
Bad. Theory 2. He made a crude, degrading comment about her becoming pregnant at 19, essentially shaming her for her past and being a teen mom.
That is just as bad.
Either way, he clearly crossed a massive, unforgivable line. And the worst part, Jacek sits there the next morning, totally unapologetic, trying to play it off.
With a smirk on his face.
He claims it was just heavy humor and tells her she needs to learn how to take a joke.
I am so incredibly angry right now. I am pushing back on this entire concept of dark humor in relationships.
Go for it. Destroy him.
Dark humor is so often just the biggest, most neon red flag for I'm a deeply mean person, I lack empathy, and I want a free pass to say cruel things without facing any consequences.
It's so true.
If your joke makes your fiancé cry and say her deepest trauma boundaries were violated, You aren't funny. You're just a bully.
A total bully.
I want her to pack her bags, get on a plane, and leave him stranded in Greece, barefoot. Let him walk on the hot pavement without shoes.
It's a classic narcissistic deflection tactic. You say something cruel to test the boundary, and when they react, you gaslight them by calling them overly sensitive.
Exactly. It's textbook manipulation.
It perfectly illustrates how unresolved issues manifest on the show, which actually brings us to someone whose unhealed trauma is actively, painfully sabotaging her every move. Let's talk about Julia.
Oh, Julia.
Let's talk about her and Kamil Uno.
Grab your wine for this one.
Yeah.
Because, Julia, I have never seen such extreme emotional volatility play out so quickly.
It was giving whiplash.
I was screaming at the TV, but at the same time, my heart just bleeds for her. We have to look at the backstory to understand the chaos.
Let's break it down.
Julia's father completely disowned her when she was a baby because he said she didn't look like him. He literally abandoned his own child over her physical appearance.
Right, which explains literally every single erratic reaction she has. It's textbook anxious attachment driven by a core wound of abandonment.
It explains everything. I feel so deeply bad for her. Imagine the deep-seated insecurities that creates in a person.
It's a heavy burden to carry into a dating experiment.
But the way it manifests in the pods is just a tornado. She just spins out of control.
A tornado is putting it mildly. And Kamil Uno, who we are calling Kamil Uno because there are two Kamils, and this one somehow survived the Hunger Games of the men's lounge.
Barely survived.
He is absolutely not helping the situation. Let's break down the psychology of the chocolate incident.
Please do, because I was confused.
Kamil Uno decides it is a genius idea to give chocolates to another girl in the pods. And then he sits down on his romantic date with Julia and explicitly tells her about it.
Why would you tell her? I do not understand men.
They are a mystery.
It's Love is Blind. We all know you were supposed to be dating multiple people, but you don't hand out party favors to the competition and then brag about it.
Especially not to the specific woman who just confided in you about her severe abandonment trauma.
It is so emotionally clumsy, he just walked right into it.
It's self-sabotage on his part, too. He wants to prove he has options to make himself look desirable, but he's completely misreading his audience.
Totally misreading it.
So Julia, predictably, completely storms out. She is spiraling over, not being his only priority. She goes back to the women's quarters and just loses her mind.
Understandably. She felt threatened.
And what does Kamil do in response to this massive red flag? Hours later, he proposes to her.
Because that makes logical sense. Oh, you're screaming at me, let's get married.
It's insane.
The proposal was wild, but the reveal was easily the most awkward, painful moment in television history.
I had to watch it through my fingers.
Kamil Uno proposes. He says, I want to be with you. The door is open. Julia walks out looking absolutely stunning. And Kamil Uno gives zero reaction. Zero.
None. Just crickets.
He doesn't gasp. He doesn't drop to his knees. His eyes don't even widen. He literally just stares at her completely flat-faced and says, it's nice to be surprised.
Nice to be surprised. The man has the emotional range of a damp sponge.
A sponge, yes.
And we have to look at the cultural context here. Julia has darker Romani features. She spent her entire life worrying she doesn't look Polish enough.
Right, which ties directly back to the father who abandoned her.
Exactly. So when Kamil doesn't immediately and enthusiastically validate her beauty, her brain's alarm bells start screaming, he hates how I look because I don't look like the typical Polish girl.
It is her ultimate nightmare playing out on camera.
See, this is where I have to push back a little bit on your clinical read of her.
Oh, tell me.
Yes, her trauma is real, and yes, she is acting erratically, but she explicitly told him her deepest fear. She handed him the instruction manual to her heart.
She did. She laid it all out.
All she needed was a little bit of enthusiastic validation. Wow, you are beautiful. And he gave her absolutely nothing. That lukewarm reaction is emotional violence to someone with her specific core wound.
Okay, I hear you, but let's look at the reality of the situation. Julia is actively self-sabotaging.
How so?
Every time Kamil breathes wrong or uses the wrong tone of voice, she rolls her eyes completely into the back of her head and shuts down.
That's true. The eye rolling is intense.
And Kamil is handling it by acting like a passive-aggressive child manager. He speaks to her like a tired kindergarten teacher trying to negotiate with a toddler who won't eat their vegetables.
Oh my gosh, that is the exact vibe.
He cannot heal her childhood trauma in 48 hours. Throwing all that responsibility on him is like throwing a bucket of water on a house fire. It's not going to fix the foundation.
Okay, that is a fair point. I will agree that she needs intensive years-long therapy, not a Netflix reality show.
Definitely.
She is desperately looking for a man to heal a wound that only she can heal herself.
Precisely. The isolation pods are not a licensed therapist's office.
They really aren't.
And speaking of people who desperately need to unpack their baggage, let's talk about our odd couple, Marta and Damien.
Okay, Marta was in this massive, messy love triangle in the pods with Damien, Kamil, and MP, and we absolutely have to talk about MP.
Oh, I've been waiting to drag MP. I am so ready.
So MP is this graduate student from Chicago who somehow ended up on Love is Blind Poland, and his behavior is fascinatingly terrible.
Fascinatingly terrible is the perfect way to describe it.
Half the time, he absolutely refused to speak Polish. He would just speak English and expect the women to accommodate him.
Yeah.
The pure American audacity.
The audacity. You are on a Polish television show. Speak the language.
And then he brought Malert to the pods.
I literally gagged when I saw that bottle.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Malert is Chicago's most disgusting, notoriously vile liquor. It tastes like bug spray mixed with regret and gasoline.
It is so bad. Why would you subject a stranger to that?
And he proudly served it to his dates. Psychologically, this is the classic ego shit test. He's essentially saying, if you can stomach the worst alcohol on earth with a smile, then you are cool enough to handle me.
It's a bizarre power play. It's so weird.
On top of that, he openly admitted he lived like a broke college student and was basically just in Poland for the free education. Marta dodged an absolute bullet.
She dodged a missile, a literal heat-seeking missile.
He really did.
And instead, she swooned over Damien. And I'm going to romanticize this for a second because Damien wrote Marta a poem. And he told her the paper smelled like him.
Which is a little weird, but okay.
No, it is so deeply romantic. I was kicking my feet on the couch. I love a poet.
You are such a romantic.
But then the trauma dump happened. Right after the beautiful poetry, he immediately tells her all about his abusive mother. Just boom, right into the heaviest trauma possible.
It's the Love is Blind speed run. You exchange names, ask about hobbies, and then immediately pivot to your darkest childhood trauma.
It gives me whiplash.
It's forced intimacy. But Marta accepts it. She validates him, and Damien proposes. Which leads us to the wildest, most inappropriate reveal moment of the entire season.
I am still angry about this. My blood pressure is literally rising as we speak.
Take deep breaths.
Damien proposes. Marta is crying these beautiful, genuine tears of joy. It is a stunning, emotional, cinematic moment.
It really was a pretty moment.
And Damien immediately ruins the romance by announcing to her and to the entire Netflix production crew that he has an erection and has to lie down on the couch.
He literally had to lay flat on his back to hide it. I couldn't believe my eyes.
It is the ultimate male ruin-the-moment move. Why do they do this?
It's a defense mechanism.
You are looking at your future wife. She is weeping with joy because she feels emotionally seen, and you make it entirely about your crude bodily functions.
It's a complete deflection. Men who cannot handle high emotional intimacy will short-circuit and revert to crude humor to lower the stakes.
I was spiraling. I wanted to throw my wine glass directly at the screen, like, read the room, Damien.
It was disgusting. It totally shatters the illusion of safety, and it only gets worse when they get to Greece.
Oh my gosh, Greece.
Because in the pods, Damien seems sensitive, artistic, and vulnerable.
Right.
The poet.
Yes, the sweet poet with the scented paper.
But in Greece, he turns into a completely different person the second he is around the other guys. He is getting aggressively drunk. He's making stupid, loud frat boy jokes.
He's acting like a total bro.
And he starts complaining to the other men that Marta has him on a short leash just because she asked him to dial back the excessive drinking.
The short leash comment is so incredibly insulting. She is not controlling him. She is just asking for basic respect and mature behavior from her fiancé.
Exactly. This is why I think the poetry was a total bait and switch.
You really think so?
Does this not scream F-boy, who is just hiding behind an eccentric, quirky sense of humor? The poetry and the vulnerability were just tools to secure the target.
Oh, wow, that is so manipulative.
Once she said yes, the nice guy mask dropped, and the frat boy emerged.
It was a total bait and switch. I am so worried for Marta. She fell in love with a poet and ended up with a frat bro.
It's a tragedy.
But speaking of bait and switch, we have to talk about the settlers. Malika and Krzysztof.
The siren versus the queen, this is my absolute favorite psychological dynamic of the season so far.
So in the pods, Krzysztof was absolutely obsessed with Kinga. Kinga was the ultimate pod siren.
Oh, she was good.
She was incredibly flirty. She talked heavily and openly about sex right out of the gate. And literally every single guy in the men's lounge was completely drooling over her.
She knew exactly what she was doing. She was weaponizing her sexuality to secure screen time.
Totally.
But let's analyze why Krzysztof actually dumped Kinga. He was incredibly attracted to her, but she reminded him too much of his ex-girlfriend.
The dreaded ex.
Right. He explained that his ex emotionally cheated on him and was always seeking validation and attention from other men. Kinga's siren energy triggered that exact insecurity.
That makes total sense.
He was terrified she would constantly need outside attention and eventually cheat. So in a total panic response, what does he do? He completely pivots to the polar opposite, Malika.
Malika is this stunning, beautiful Kazakh girl. But she treated the pods like she was conducting a rigorous corporate job interview for a Fortune 500 company.
Honestly, as dentists, we have to respect her clinical hustle.
I mean, kind of.
She sat down with this man and literally asked Krzysztof for his exact blood type and the current status of his teeth.
The teeth status, I screamed. You know, if we were in the pods, we would absolutely be pulling up their dental records.
Oh, without a doubt.
We'd be like, are you a daily flosser? Do you have active gingivitis? Let's talk about your enamel.
It's important.
But the way Malika asked it was just so incredibly cold. She sounded like a robot.
It was very clinical. And we joke about the teeth, but honestly, asking about someone's dental hygiene is a pretty incredible proxy for how they manage their life.
Wait, really? Explain that to me.
Flossing requires daily discipline, forethought, and a willingness to do something slightly annoying for long-term health benefits. It's a great metric for a partner.
Okay, when you put it like that, it actually makes sense.
But you're right, her delivery was freezing, and that clinical energy carried right into their trip to Greece. Because their reveal, it was excruciating to watch.
I cringed so hard I pulled a muscle in my neck. They looked like two strangers who were forced to carpool to a beige accounting conference.
A beige accounting conference? That is so accurate.
There was zero physical chemistry. They wouldn't even touch each other.
It was a shady breakdown the second they got to Greece. Krzysztof immediately starts complaining to the bros by the pool.
Of course he does.
He calls Malika bossy, cold, and an impossible perfectionist. He says he wanted a partnership, a democracy, but she acts like a dictator.
That's a bit harsh.
Meanwhile, Malika seems completely oblivious to his utter misery. She is happily FaceTiming her family back home to show off her shiny engagement ring, and she literally forgets to even introduce Krzysztof to her family.
He was sitting right there.
He is sitting right next to her on the couch.
Okay, I am pushing back here. I honestly think Malika is just culturally conservative.
You think so?
Yes. She isn't used to this hyper-exposed reality TV environment, and the Polish men on this cast are being way too overtly sexual and aggressive. I mean, we just talked about the barefoot howling and the ass grabbing.
Fair point. That was awful.
Malika just wants to protect her peace, maintain her dignity, and take it slow. She's doing her best in a weird environment.
I counter that by saying Malika severely lacks the basic emotional intelligence required for a show centered on rapid vulnerability.
Ouch.
If you go on a show to get married in 3 weeks, you have to be willing to open up. You can't just interrogate a man about his blood type, check off boxes on a spreadsheet, and then ignore him on FaceTime while flexing the ring.
Okay, that's true. The FaceTime thing was really bad.
The relationship is like two completely unaligned gears just grinding each other to dust. She treats him like a mildly annoying junior employee, not a fiancé.
It's rough. It is so hard to watch them together. But before we get into our final verdicts on these couples, we have to talk about something you found in the cultural background of the show because it absolutely blew my mind.
I did. I love a good historical deep dive into the context.
Yes, tell the babes.
So if you're watching the show closely, you might notice something interesting and confusing for an American audience about the engagement rings.
I did notice this.
All the couples are putting the engagement rings on their right hand, not the left hand like we do.
I was so confused I thought maybe the cameras were mirrored or something.
No, there is a deep historical reason for it. In Poland, wearing the wedding or engagement ring on the right hand actually stems from a profound period of national mourning.
Wow.
After the failed January uprising in 1863 against the Russian Empire, Polish women began wearing their wedding bands on their right hands. It was a way to silently mourn their dead husbands who fought in the uprising and to collectively mourn the lost hope for a free Poland.
That is so intense.
Over time, that practice of wearing the ring on the right hand just evolved into the standard national tradition.
That is so hauntingly beautiful. I am completely romanticizing that tragic history. It is so deep, so meaningful, and carries so much weight.
It really does.
I honestly just wish the current couples on this show had even an ounce of that emotional depth and reverence for commitment.
Seriously.
Instead, we have guys talking about their spontaneous erections and howling like feral wolves in a cage. The contrast is just staggering.
It really is a massive fall from grace. Which brings us perfectly to the first of our closing debates. Let's talk about the Pod Delusion Awards.
Welcome to the Pod Delusion Awards. This is where we decide who fell in love the absolute fastest and who desperately needed to hit the brakes and check their reality. I will let you start with your nomination.
Thank you. I am officially nominating Julia and Kamil Uno for falling the fastest.
Oh, for sure.
The delusion is absolutely off the charts. Kamil Uno proposed literally hours after Julia stormed out of the pod, throwing a massive tearful tantrum over a box of chocolates he gave to someone else.
It makes no sense.
That is not love. That is a hostage negotiation. He just wanted to stop the crying, and she just wanted the shiny validation, delusion, at its absolute finest.
A hostage negotiation.
Yeah.
That is perfectly accurate. Okay, my nomination for who absolutely should have slowed down is Daria.
Daria, yes.
Daria clearly does not like Philip. She literally recoiled at his touch at the reveal. But in the pods, she dragged poor howling J-Chick along for the ride, just to make sure she had options and wasn't left empty-handed.
She was playing the game.
She played the reality TV game to stay on the show. And she ended up with a guy who treats her like a literal piece of meat and tells her her dress leaves nothing to the imagination.
It backfired completely.
She should have slowed down, realized neither man was right for her, and gone home single.
1,000%. It's better to be single than to be grabbed by Philip. Let's move to our next debate. Would this work in real life?
Ooh, okay.
Out of the couples we've broken down so far, which ones feel remotely authentic to you, and which ones are just doomed already?
Okay, I am going to argue that Marta and Damien actually feel the most authentic.
Wait, really? After everything we just said?
I know. I just spent 10 minutes yelling about his erection comment and his frat boy behavior in Greece.
Yeah.
But when they are actually sitting down, just the two of them having a quiet conversation, they seem to really genuinely like each other.
I guess I see that. A little bit.
They have this weird, goofy banter that feels real. I think they could actually work in the real world. If Damien can get his drinking under control and stop trying to impress the other guys.
That is a massive if.
His drinking and his need for male validation might completely ruin it.
You cannot build a marriage on the hope of potential. But for the doomed couple, Malika and Krzysztof are absolutely, unequivocally doomed.
Yeah, they're hard to defend.
It is a slow-motion car crash. We said it before. Krzysztof wants a warm, submissive partner who will constantly validate his ego. Malika wants a perfectly tailored employee who checks off boxes on her life plan spreadsheet.
They're on totally different planets.
They're speaking two completely different emotional languages, and neither is willing to learn the other's vocabulary. They will not even make it to the altar. I'm calling it right now.
I think you're right. It hurts to watch, but you're right. Okay, next debate. Biggest red flag energy. It is time to get shady.
My favorite time.
Let's discuss the absolute biggest warning signs we saw in these first 5 episodes.
I have to go back to Damien. In the pods, way before the beautiful poetry, he literally said out loud to Marta that he wants to find a child-making factory.
I totally blocked that out of my memory. Why did you bring that back up?
It is absolutely disgusting. Let's analyze that phrasing. You do not refer to a human woman as a factory for your offspring on a first date.
You just don't.
It completely dehumanizes her. It reduces her entire worth to her reproductive capabilities. Huge, glaring red flag.
It's so gross. It's giving handmaid. Okay, my biggest red flag is Philip grabbing Daria's ass 5 seconds after seeing her.
Yep, that was horrific.
You do not touch a woman like that unless she explicitly invites it, especially when you have literally just met her face-to-face for the very first time.
It's an invasion of space.
It shows a complete, utter lack of respect for her bodily autonomy. He views her as an object he just won. Red flag blinding me.
And we cannot forget Julia's eye-rolling and extreme emotional reactivity. Kamil Uno is going to be walking on eggshells for the rest of his natural life.
For sure.
If she is triggered into a full meltdown by a piece of chocolate given to another woman in a dating experiment, imagine what happens in the real world when he forgets to put his dishes in the dishwasher or comes home late from work.
He will never hear the end of it.
The emotional toll will be exhausting. Massive red flag.
He will never survive. He will be a shell of a man. Which actually brings us to our final debate. Could we do Love is Blind?
Oh, this is a dangerous question.
Because we have to have a personal reality check right now.
No.
Could two practicing dentists actually survive the pods?
Honestly, no. We would be an absolute nightmare for the Netflix production crew.
We really would be.
Think about it. We wouldn't ask about their hopes, their dreams, or their favorite travel destinations. We would spend the entire 2-hour date interrogating them about their dental hygiene routine.
We would. I would sit down, pour my wine, and be like, okay, so tell me your deepest childhood trauma, but first, walk me through your flossing habits.
Priorities?
Are we talking water flosser or traditional string? Do you grind your teeth at night? Have you been fitted for a custom night guard? And if so, how often do you clean it?
I would be asking for their most recent panoramic x-rays to be slid under the door before I even considered saying I love you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Hand over the x-rays.
And God forbid they get to the reveal.
Oh my gosh, the reveal. I am joking, but I'm kind of serious. If those pod doors opened, the dramatic music swelled, and the man standing there had a severe, uncorrected overbite or visible plaque buildup along his gum line, I would literally turn around and sprint back through the doors.
Just run away.
I would Michael Scott my way out of there. Nope,
Yeah.
no. God, please, no.
I would walk out of pod after one conversation if a man admitted to drinking a sugary soda right before bed without brushing.
Disgusting.
That is a moral failing. I cannot marry a man who doesn't respect his own enamel. It shows a lack of long-term planning.
It's an absolute deal breaker. The
Yeah.
enamel is the window to the soul. We would be the absolute villains of the season. The internet would hate us.
We truly would be despised. We would get so much hate mail. Well, on that terrifying thought, I think it's time to officially wrap up this weekend spiral.
It is time. We want to genuinely thank the Snark Squad for spending part of their weekend spiral with us. We know Sunday's looming. We know the scaries are creeping in. But babes, you survived another week, and you survived this chaotic recap.
We are so proud of you.
We really are. But now, we have some homework for you. Jump into the comments and tell us, which country should get Love is Blind next? We need your best pitches.
Also, we need your hot takes on the Poland cast, especially that missing Jacek audio. What do you think he actually said to Julita to make her cry like that?
Yes. Let us know your theories. And on a serious note, babes, please let us know if you've actually bought your Mother's Day gifts yet, or if you're like us, actively panicking in a mall parking lot right now, praying the Auntie Anne's kiosk is still open.
Please validate our procrastination. We need to know we aren't alone. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and send in your own messy dating stories for future chats. We want to read them all and analyze your red flags.
We live for the mess. Stay romantic, stay chaotic, and we will see you on the Snark side.
Stay romantic, stay chaotic, and we will see you on the Snark side.